Yes, and there we are again with Dance Gems, another podcast episode from Ton, Greten, and Sean Dorf. Today we're going to talk about formation and team dancing beyond harmony emotion. But of course, I cannot do that without my good friend Ton. Hey Ton, are you there?
Yes, Sean, I'm
Hey,
here.
there you are.
Nice to hear you. Nice to see you also.
Yes, and you heard it. We are going to talk today about formation and team dancing beyond harmony in motion. I know formation dancing. It's something probably we say only in ballroom and Latin, but we'll find that out too. Or team dancing, or dance crews, or dance companies. All these things we're going to talk about today, and I know that has a special place in your heart.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely, Sean.
there we are. Yes. Tell me,
Yes.
where do you want to start?
Um, Maybe the similarities what you have in all these different dance forms, because all these dance forms who go on competition,
Mm-hmm.
like hip hop, contemporary, jazz, ballroom, Latin, salsa, cheerleading,
Yeah.
synchronized swimming, and also even the sports like synchronized gymnastic, acro gymnastic,
Yeah, yeah.
etc. They have
Horseback
all
riding.
formations and teams.
Yeah, in
Horse riding?
Yeah,
No,
I
really,
saw.
Sean?
I don't think it's a big sport, meaning that a lot of people do that. But yeah, they do that. And yeah, if we say comparison, then it's of course a comparison between all these type of team information. Let's say sports or art forms, but you can also make a comparison what the difference is between, let's say, individual dancers and multiple people dancing at the same time.
Yes.
So
Yes, multiple is already from two.
yeah, yeah, actually that is true, right? Because I'm so used to think about couple dancing. That's a little bit, my background, ballroom and Latin dancing. So, but yeah, two is in principle also a team. I know you have a nice acronym in the English language for the word team. TATEHM. Yeah.
Yes, explain, Sean.
Well, normally you do that, but I think
Ah,
it's yeah, it's together. That's the first. That's the first letter.
yes,
Um, and then
each
what's the
other,
next? And then
each other,
each
each
other, and
other, the
and
E.
then achievement,
Yes, achieve.
and then more. Yeah,
More, yes.
yeah,
Together, each other, achieve more.
more. So
So, and
nice.
yes, and
I like it.
actually, you work with single dancers
Hmm.
from a group of dancers, like an individual, and they work together as a team. And that's the definition from a team working together. And a formation team, they work also together, but more in a slightly different way. They make First of all, you have to know where formation dancing is coming from.
Yeah.
It's coming from the military, the soldiers who are and walking on a parade. And this is more about to show how disciplined they are. And the same with the marching band. And they look also uniform. And they look the same. And this is to show what unity they have. It's a difference than like a team, but actually a formation is also, you could say, bigger, more people, more dancers are in it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a team mostly is smaller. But still, you work together as a team also in a formation. But
Obviously.
eh, yes, yes, and you have in Japan. You have Japan, I think 123 million people live
Yeah.
there,
Close to it. Huh?
and
Hmm.
yes, close to it, or 124, many, many, many for a small country, and have many universities there, and you have there something like synchronized walking. That's really incredible, and they look like a huge military operation in walking, how they walk, very precise, and the formation team is also like that. The position of the people are exactly the same in between 1 meter, 1 meter in the front, 1 meter to the side, or half meter backward and forward. And in a team, it's also like this, but not so precise like in the formation team,
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
military, the soldiers. Mostly the Chinese are very, very practiced in that one, very experienced. Um, when they do an opening of a Olympic Games, they have many, many people in the stadium to do the opening, and they are precise um, where they are positioned on the floor. And mostly there are markers there, but with the TV you cannot see that, and that looks really incredible when they
Yes.
do
Yeah.
all the same. Yes, that looks
With
really
nice parents. We
super.
used to have, I don't know if that's still true, Ton, we used to have in the Netherlands, it was called the Tap 2 in Breda, where we
Mm,
have huge marching bands, all military soldiers and marching bands making international. Used to be very famous. It just came to me. I don't know why, but I was thinking about your
yes.
military, and I thought, yeah, I used to go there, and it was. I mean, this patterns was, was incredible what they could do. Um,
In our city, we have the same. They
yeah.
call it World Concours.
Hmm.
It's also marching bands, fanfare.
Hmm.
They do this in a football stadium and will march there. In America, it's much more.
Yeah.
And it's one time in the 4 years they
Hmm.
are coming there and walk also precise next to each other. This is a little bit the history of a
Yeah.
team and the formation,
Hmm.
and you have also a lot of comparison in it. And all these different formations
A lot
and
of
teams,
similarities. Yeah.
similarities in the in and crossovers in all these disciplines, different disciplines, even in the synchronized swimming. I don't know if you as listener realize that there is a difference in it. There are similarities in it, and one of them is the human body. One body, and in my gem method, you can I put it in 10 body parts. These 10 body parts they can bend, extend, and rotate. And if you have one body, you have 10 body parts. But if you have 10 people or 10 dancers, then by 10, you have 100 body parts where you can compose uh, some composition in it. And you have much more possibilities than one body. So, actually, the art, what you want to show in a performance, yeah, it has more possibility. And if you're in a formation, you have 50 dancers there by 10 body parts, it's 500 body parts. So you can do incredible things. That's one already. When you compare it to solo dancing, that is already a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 body parts. So, yeah, that might be new for people. Think, hey, but Jean and Ton, there are way more body parts. Yeah, we know there are, of course, way more body parts. But, I will quickly go through them so that everyone knows what we're talking about. We have our head, we have our shoulders. I know you have two shoulders, but we count them as one body part. You have your arms, you have your hands, and you have your fingers. Then you have your chest. You have your pelvis area, you have your legs, you have your feet and your toes. And if you have counted with me, those are exactly 10 body parts. And each body part can definitely bend and extend or stretch. and some of them actually can also rotate. So there are actually only three movements, at least from our point of view. From an anatomical point of view, we sometimes say side bending, but for us, with simple people, we just kept that as bending. And so all 10 body parts can make three different type of movements. That in itself is already something to think about it. But if you then multiply that by a number of bodies, 10 or even more, big formations can even have 50 or beyond that. It gives challenges, of course, but there's a lot of similarities, because that is true for all formation and teams, that you multiply the body parts and the possibilities that you can do with it. That was a little
Y-
summary of what you
Yes,
said.
thank you very much, Sean.
Hmm.
Quite clear for me, but uh,
Yeah.
yes, but for some listeners, could be a challenge to understand that. So, and they move through space and time, and we call it space time as a one word. It's not an invention of us two, but you have Herman Minovsky, the professor from, I think he came from Lithuania in the 18th century, and he gave lesson to Albert Einstein. And from Albert Einstein, we go a little bit far away now from the formation and teams,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
okay.
make it. I will finish it. Um, he has made his relativity theory of space and time, space time. So, how you can move that body now? That body you can move with the 10 body parts, bending, extending, rotating, and you can move them horizontal, vertical, and diagonally. Plus, when you have 10 body parts, you can move them singular. Singular will say one body part,
Hmm.
like the head. But when you move the shoulders and the head, you have already a composed movement. And actually, the whole body is composed, but still, when you move through space time with one body part, we call it singular. And can you imagine when you have a formation team, even when it's not so experienced, and you would raise the arm and then move only the fingers, and the arm would raise vertical in a vertical line, the hand is frontal, and then the fingers would move. Even with non-experienced dancer, this looks already incredible. And if you combine such of movements through space-time, this is why people, and I'm sure they like more to watch to that formation, because there are so much more possibilities. So actually, it's built up by singular dancers, and if you combine the dancers, you get composed group, a composed dancing, and this is yeah, I like it very much to watch to it. And you can see this also on the ratings on the TV. Mostly in these programs are formation teams and teams, but you have also programs like So You Think You Can Dance, and you have also Dancing with the Stars. But actually, this is already with two people, and two people already is a team. And we don't call them a couple. In the ballroom world, they call them a couple, but a couple could also sound like they are married, and it is not necessary always.
Yeah. Well, a
Actually,
couple
it,
means two, huh? So, um,
yeah, if
yeah. Yeah.
depends how you understand the word, yes.
Yeah, in the horse riding world, if we say a couple, that means a horse and a cart. So that's that's another thing that's also funny. But yeah, big programs. Dancing with the Stars in the U.S. Ton is huge. It's still one of the most few programs, if not the most few programmed in at prime time, which is really exceptional for many years already. So it's very popular. And yes, it is always a competition between couples. There's mostly a boy and a girl, but it doesn't have to be. Even Dancing with the Stars in the US, we quite often now have boy boy girl girl dancing in there, which is great. But in their opening and in their between acts, there's always many dancers come on the floor, and there's actually you get a really good sense of formation and team dancing and
Yeah.
uh,
And
and
and groups dancing
and group
because
dancing, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I was looking for that word. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you might not realize it as a viewer, and if you have the chance to look it up, maybe on YouTube if you're not from the US. But these small clips of sometimes only 30 seconds, quite impressive and interesting. Um, how how top choreographers use groups of dancing. Very nice, I must say.
Yes, you know
Yeah,
why it's also interesting? It's
yeah. Tell me.
TV, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
TV, and they have different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And you have also a videographer who record it.
Yeah.
So, and you have an editor, so they can also edit it. When it's live, you can switch from camera to camera. So, and you can zoom in on a hand or zoom in on a
Yep.
face
Yeah.
or zoom out and
Yeah.
you see the whole group. So there is more possibility to make it more interesting for the
Yeah.
perceiver.
Yeah. Although I must, man, that's probably where my questions are if it comes to formation, group dancing, and so on. Ton, is as a viewer, if you have multiple spectators, we're not all sitting on the same chair. Some people are sitting more close. Some people are maybe a little bit more drawn to, let's say, the men's in the dancing. They look at different aspects as well, and to cater, so to speak, to all these different viewers from all sides of the ballroom in this case. That's also something I think you as a choreographer keep in mind
Yes,
when you make a choreography.
absolutely. Mostly when you dance on a competition or even in a theater where you
Yeah.
can also dance competition and where
Mm-hmm.
companies also dance. A company is mostly are professionals who do this for the craftsman craft as a craft and it's that's wonderful to see in a theater also, but you see it from one perspective, and that's mostly from the front of the theater. And this is also mainly in a competition. Most nice is when you are dancing in a competition formation or team. Would also I would put the um, judges or educators from different perspectives. And some organizations you have that, but the
Mm-hmm.
main or most organization or association they don't have that. Some of them, like Hip Hop International, they're sitting like 30 meters or 40 meters away to see in a wider view. And but the details is sometimes
Got lost. Yeah.
difficult or more a challenge to see.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as a educator and spectator, it's difficult or a challenge to get information about it because the MC mostly not telling what it is. They in some organizations they call the name or which country they're coming from. Some MCs are yelling through the microphone. The next team is from New Zealand. And some organization they say, next team from New Zealand, more quiet and more calmer. But the context, it would be nice to get context. And even they want also I understand these organizations, I want to keep it equal, that everybody have the same lightning, the same time about getting information, But for you can imagine if you not get zero information, zero context, then you look very empty to it, and then you can keep it more simple. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid, and do the idea very simple. Say like there are all Michael Jacksons on the floor, and dance like Michael Jackson. Okay, if you know Michael Jackson, then you have, and they imitate him, then you have already an example that you understand the idea easily. Because when you also play the music of Michael Jackson and they look like Michael Jackson, then it's quite simple. But I think dance, not I think, I'm sure, because when I say think, I'm not sure, I'm sure about it, that dance is an art form. And if the MC and the association, or better say, I go to the core of it, the association would change a little bit the rules and give the audience also something, then it would much more interesting to watch to it also, because you get context and you understand it a little bit more. And the formation team and the teams who didn't prepare it get, they can provide the audience from less information. So if you are clever, you could do that, but they don't do that. I don't also know what is the particular reason. I think it's more time issue to keep
Yeah,
it short
time
and
or
go through it.
complexity.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I know you often make dance with a theme in mind, right? One of your latest one was based on the board game, or it's actually sport chess, right? So that's a theme, and you had made multiple teams. Some teams, yeah, that's a little bit. The one is with THEM, A, but some formations they don't take a theme at all. But if the MC would at least, explain a little bit, hey, this is from yada yada yada, and it is based on give a little bit more context at what Ton said. And then the other thing that I picked up on is we're talking here about competitions very often with formation and team dancing. So there's always adjudicators involved. And in the ballroom world, where it's formation dancing, you very often have that the adjudicators all sitting next together in a nice line. And then the strange thing happens is, although the audience is completely around a formation or team, you see that team completely focusing only on where the adjudicators are sitting, which can come across as a little bit odd. Uh, understandable by the way, but a little bit odd for audience sometimes. So specifically,
yes,
if you're on the backside, then it's, and I think you as a choreographer, you always take care of that. You keep
yes,
that in mind.
absolutely.
Although,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
I'm sure there are other choreographers do that too. I'm not want to say that, but this is one of the topics I think could either be explained or addressed
Yeah.
slightly different.
Yes,
What do you
I
think about it,
approach it.
Ton? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Correction. I use all the different directions and levels in space, and also from the focus where you're looking to it. Um, Also, not only to the front. What I understand, if you are formation, think
Yep.
about the military when they
Mm-hmm.
walk and the general is on the right,
Yeah.
and you marching not to the general but from the side. Suddenly they yell like 1, 2, 3, go, and they will look to the general, and all the head go on the same time to the general
Yeah.
or to the king who's
Yep.
sitting there, or the
Yeah.
president,
Yeah.
and then they count again, and at the same time they put their rifle up, or they turn the head again back, so it depends, or they stop at the same time. And this is more in the formation team, and in the, or in the formation, and in in a team, it's more interesting to do different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we were, oh no, you asked me
Yeah, I
another
ask you.
question. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
I
yes, yes.
ask you to repeat that. So keep that in mind. A different perspective as a choreographer. If now I work a lot with choreography too, obviously, but I mostly work with smaller groups, two, maybe 10 dances at maximum. So it's I don't want to say easier, but it is less challenging to, let's say, make the movements if I want them to be synchronized. Let's say everyone needs to close the feet at the same time. I was wondering how you do that as a coach. I think you developed a good system because I
Yes, yes,
myself alone I cannot possibly see even 10 dancers. Uh, it is so fast. So
yes, yes.
how do you do that, Tom?
Yes, I will answer this question after I answer the other question from the
Hmm.
chessboard,
Yes.
because I made that idea from the chess, and I thought from the music, because it's a classical game,
Yeah.
I put classical music to it. And also, I didn't do black and white, I put only the black uh, players there on the field. And I had a field in the chess, it's
Yeah.
16 fields, and I put eight of them, the girls, and on the first line as a queen, king, um, how you call them, the I don't I don't know how you call them in English, but I put them on the first line, and the soldiers on the second line. That was the guys, and I put classical music. And for some people, when you are in the Latin world, they expect Latin music.
Yeah.
And if you have classical music and you put Latin music under it, still it's some odd or strange for them that I use this music. And you can imagine you would do this in hip hop. Everybody, or the most of them, have a quite hardcore music where they are yelling and where they are screaming in that music. And if you would take classical music and you would be the only one who used classical music, that's really it's different than the other ones. So this is sometimes yeah, different if you make different choices. Now to come to perceive information from one side, when I would recognize a movement and I would just look to the feet and everybody have to close the feet and I would look 10 seconds, I can maybe remember 3 or 4. But I see what I see when I look from a wide perspective and I not zoom in on one person but on the whole formation, then I could only remember 3 or 4. And I could say, okay, it's not synchronized there. Okay, actually, we have to stop there after a few seconds. And when you perceive it with a camera, you can perceive it um, more slower. You can repeat it. You can look again. And if you not developed enough as a person and you have not enough body awareness and experience, then the information to transfer from the information to how the choreographer or trainer wants has a longer duration to improve that. So, and I do it on a different way, but I will not tell you as a viewer now or a listener how I do it because I have a workshop at the 4th and 5th of May, and this is a quite unique system how I do it. But actually,
Well, and
you need,
it is, you mean in this case, if you know, if you want to have it stronger, synchronized, different lined up, you know, all these kind of things, you have a you developed your own system for it, which I think is quite interesting. We'll talk a little bit later, not so much later, but we'll talk a little bit later about your unique conference. And then you started to hit on something about the individual abilities and skills of dancers, how that works within a larger group where you work with so many different uh, um, dancers very often.
Yes. What I would first improve, but general, if it even is a beginner of a dancer or
Mm-hmm.
one who has a lot of experience or it's a profession of them. I would work during the day in your daily life
Mm-hmm.
with your instrument, and your instrument is that body parts. And if you get aware of that body more during your daily life 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
when you go practice, you can transform the information much more faster in a
Mm-hmm.
shorter duration because you are experienced with your body. And we call it in a fancy word. You know the word, Sean? You can tell the word.
Yeah,
Uh,
proprioception, huh?
Proprioception, yes. And the proprioception means
Yeah.
your own awareness of your body and yourself. And even this morning, I did it also. I was in the shower and I thought on my body, how is it to close my feet now? And if this is an example for your training, and I would mention this several times during the day to feel how I close my feet, the transforming on the practice will get much more
Yeah.
faster, or nicer say, it's a shorter duration where you can
Yeah.
apply to the task of the choreographer or trainer when he said, please, can you close the feet?
Yeah.
My
I like. Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
yeah, what you want to say,
No, I
Sean?
said I like that approach very much. If you go into the beginning of our podcast where we talked about the 10 body parts, and that basically each body part can either bend and stretch. Some people can extend. Some body parts can also rotate. If you, as listeners, right, and viewers that don't only listen to our podcast, sometimes you also need to do. If you really go, maybe after this podcast, stop it, but with every body part that I mentioned, and you do that very consciously. Hey, is that true what Ton and Jean says? Which body part can I bend and extend, and which part I can rotate? If you do that very consciously, your proprioception will change, your body awareness will change. And that's what Tom does advise to every individual dancer in a team. And if you do that, that makes it easier to work with larger teams because their body awareness of each individual dancer is you know, it raises or
Yes,
increases. I don't know how you say that.
yeah,
I don't want to use
yes.
better or worse, but I want to
No,
maybe
no,
say
no, no.
more increase.
Yes,
Yeah.
increase, develop,
Develop. Yeah.
grow.
It's also grow.
Yes,
That's also good
and
word. Yeah.
even not for only for dancers, even
Oh,
for your
for
daily
sure.
life
Yeah, for sure.
and for sporters and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and
One
for
of the reasons, yeah.
musicians.
Yeah, compositions. One of the reasons what you perceive a little bit more, and it's more apparent when you look at a larger team, is sometimes you also perceive that more subconscious as a viewer, is you recognize the dancers with are still in a different stage of their development of the proprioception than other dancers. And if you level set that already, I think that makes a huge difference already. So without talking about different qualities of dancers.
Yes, yes, yes. We have a podcast about awareness
Yeah, we do. Hmm.
and about what it changed in that body. Can you imagine as listener or when you watch to us that you have every second a result of that body?
Yeah.
Because we are not standing still with that body, but when you bend, extend, and rotate during the day and you live 95% daily in your unconscious, so when you could work more on it, you could make different results in it.
Yeah.
And And when can you imagine when you go to your practice and you are aware of that body, and because why you are working in your practice constantly and be aware of your body, and during the daily life you forget it, and you have more say non-practice time than practice time. So practice it also during the day. That would be my advice. But I wanted also to say something about the crossovers or the similarities what the formation teams have and the teams has. Sorry, formation and teams. It's so we can move singular and composed, even in one body part or one dancer and the other 10 dancers when you would be with 11. So one dancer get a solo. You could do this also in a team. You can also dance composed. And you could also, because in a formation team, mainly in a formation, I call it now team, but in a formation, mainly they dance synchronized, symmetric, in a symmetric way. They have less asymmetric.
Yeah,
And what I mean with that one, when you have, when all 10 or 11 or 20 dancers you have move at the same time with the same body part in the same space time.
yeah.
Uh,
Very
that,
often also geometric.
yes,
That's another word that we use in that. Very straight lines also in the movement, all at the same time. And that's definitely clear in I think I sent you recently a little video of a military.
yes, yes,
If only if they make the steps, and sometimes they make the steps, vary with straight legs, and if they all do it, with two people, it already could be impressive. But can you imagine when 50 people do that? A lot of people like that, to see that
yeah,
synchronized, geometrical, one movement. Arms are head, everything is still except the legs are moving. Boop, boop, boop. And that's a lot of drill, and they call it drill and exercise, by the way,
yeah.
in,
It's a
in
drill.
military. It's a drill, yeah. They call it a drill in military. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Not so easy to achieve with a lot of people. People think, oh, that's easy to do that exactly the same. I think that's where the history also comes in the formation dancing ton, that you see that we move that way. People move synchronized, same movement to the same beat. And here again, you always try to find a different angle to that. It requires often more discipline and training to break these patterns, but still in a way that it is within the dance. I mean, to break the patterns is not so it's not so difficult, but to do that in a choreographed way, that requires a lot of discipline, I think, and training.
yes, yes. Absolutely. Sorry about that. There are also that you not listen only to your own
Hmm.
body awareness, proprioception. You listen also to the other dancers also. So you need a lot of awareness, not only from yourself, but also from the space where the dancers are. And this costs a lot of training. And if you work more together, like in a team, you can touch each other more in a team. It's in the formation world less. But there are crossovers, so they have also sometimes team skills in it when they are do a lift or do a pyramid, and they are then you need each other in helping. And yes, that's also a difference in that one again. And a crossover is then, or a similarity is that geometric lines, straight lines, extended lines from the body parts. But you have also the opposite, the organic way to collapse everything and bend everything, twist it. And a twist is actually two rotation, what goes to each other, no, against each other. And that's also a difference, because when you have organic and geometric, mainly in the formation is symmetric and uh, um, geometric, and in the team is, if you are clever, you put more organic stuff in it. And organic is like the roots of a tree.
Yeah.
That's organic. The
Yeah.
ways, the pathways, the bending and twisting of the body parts. And this is what I use a lot as a tool, because actually these are tools: symmetric, asymmetric, geometric, organic, singular, composed, and how I use the pathways in space and how I use them in time, space time, together as a four-dimensional thing. And your conscious, we call it the fifth dimension. Your conscious steering the other four dimension. And these are tools you can use in a team, you can use in a formation, and you can use it in all different dense forms. Yeah, very interesting. And you can make also different forms.
Yeah.
And if you have these tools, you can make from that one body, or from the 10 you have, or the 50 bodies, you can make such a interesting artworks. Like you can make a real heart from it, or you make a car from it, or a motor driver, or you make a house from it. So you can make such a
Yeah. Forms.
uh, yes, you can make forms from it, from human bodies,
Yeah.
and even letters you can make. You see sometimes also in a performance that they make "I love you" from the dancers, and then you see on the floor in
Yeah.
as a human words
Yeah, you
in it.
can see that. Yeah, there's one thing that, well, not you didn't forget, but you did mention. We often talk about it when we talk about a couple or an individual dancer, is the emotional expression, which has
Yes,
its own challenges, of course, if you work with a team. The emotional approach of each movement is, in Tons and my mind, it's a conscious choice what you want to express. It has not
yes,
always something to do how you feel at that moment. If your role
yeah,
was being a pawn in the chessboard, all pawns have to think about what would be the emotional expression of a pawn on a
yes,
chessboard. And that sounds really silly, but a queen obviously has a different emotional expression than a soldier or a pawn on a chessboard.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and that's, of course, as a choreographer, hopefully also as a dancer, these are interesting components to work with.
Yes,
Yeah.
very
N-
detailed, Sean, but correct.
yeah, neither
Absolutely.
Ton and I would say you have to do this, you have to do that.
No, no,
But
no, no,
since
no.
you are working in a team, you first need to have the discussion of what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
in my show, I put the players on the field,
Hmm.
the dance floor. I let them move like in the feet with small tipple feet, ta, ta, ta,
Yeah.
ta, 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 to imagine would players. And I put this like 10 times back in the choreography, or 15 times, many times. But I want to have such as a red line through it, like it comes always back. But for
Yeah.
some people who didn't understand the piece because the MC didn't give some information, they are ignored. How you say that?
Yeah.
They didn't.
Ignored. You
They
don't
didn't
pay
like
attention to
that.
it. Yeah.
Yes, they didn't like it because they didn't understand why they do always these small tipple steps. Yes, because it's chess players, and I wanted to move them like that. So
Yeah,
if they had context before it,
exactly.
maybe they, because at that time they didn't have the imagination, there could be the players. No, why they tipple so often from? So I didn't want their walk from A to B. They tipple from A to B on
Yeah.
the toes.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, at least was your creative input. Is pawns they on a chessboard makes are allowed to make smaller steps than the queens and the towers or the
Yes,
castles
yes,
we
yes.
say in English. They can strive from one side to the of the chessboard to the other. I think that was a very thing. And so one thing that I wanted to bring in there, if it comes to emotional expression, we were talking about companies. Companies is a word in dance that often refers to classical ballet, where you have a few main characters, the prima donnas, the main dancers, you know,
Solo
Bareshnikov,
dancers.
solo
Yeah.
dancers, right? And then you have people in the background, typically called the chorus or the
The,
company. Yeah,
yeah, the solo dancers we call them solist.
solist,
Solist.
yes.
Yes.
So, and there you already talk about formation, but the remarkable thing is that if you actually watch to these things, they spend a lot of time on reacting emotionally to what the soloist is doing. So that you can see
Yes.
that's choreographed. They say, oh, when it's beautiful, or they are in shock when something is doing. And since they do that as a group, it's super powerful, right? It
Yes,
feels
yes, yes.
powerful, but
Absolutely sure.
it's all premeditated. It's all done. It's all skillful done, and that's sometimes I know you bring that into your formation, but sometimes that what I've seen hip hop a lot more, by the way, in the cruise,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
in other forms, it's sometimes weird because we all have the same facial expression, and we all it feels a little bit odd. And I think you bring in more variation in there, which is yeah,
Yes, because I have enough tools, and
yeah.
this
You
is
see
why
the
I,
tools. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, and these tools are important because when you, before when I started with it, and when I didn't have my book, I didn't had all these tools. Now, when I bring my book with me, of course, I know what I wrote down, and I put 15,000 hours of research in it. So I know my book from A till from my first page till my last page. Not exactly, but this is why I have the book with me, and I have all these tools. So when I one day feel not so healthy and I'm a little bit sick and I or I'm more down, could be also because not every day you are really happy or really doing the things what you want to do. So some days you have really that the body feels not so healthy. Still, I can rely on my tools, and this helps me a lot. And even when I have an injury, now I have a broken shoulder. Even when I have that, the tools help me to give ideas
yeah,
and then to work with it. And these tools, we mentioned already, singular, composed, geometric, organic, symmetric, asymmetric. And we were spoken also about the expression. And the expression I put in four elements: the body language, the gestures, the facial expression, and the dynamic what we use for it, or the movement what we use for it. And the context, actually this is the fifth of them, because if you not know the context, and I could do like that, I would look angry, but actually I'm quite happy, and I in my sport I make just a goal.
and it looks
So
like you're in pain
yes, and looks
because
like
I
I'm
have
in
no
pain.
context.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and you don't have context, yes.
Yes,
And if you bend one of the body part from your body language, even the smallest finger, already you have a different result.
definitely, definitely.
And if you remember this during the day, one or two times, maybe
Yeah,
three times a day, that's enough. even it's not necessary to do this 1 minute, just 5 seconds. That's enough to think on that body. More than enough.
Yeah, even if you just, when I'm always drinking coffee, as you know, if you have seen our podcast, you always see me drinking coffee. But most of the time, I grab my mug, I grab it very unconscious. But if I do it just of those all those times that I do it, one or two times very conscious, it already changes a little bit.
Yes. And
Uh,
think about how you turn that body, Sean,
yeah,
or
yeah,
extend that
hand,
arm,
the arm,
and then open
gr-
the fingers, close the fingers, and then feel how composed you bring this to your body or to the head, or the head goes to the cup, whatever your choice will be. And this
yeah,
is actually, yeah, all these tools are similarities and crossovers in the
yeah,
formation dance
yeah.
and in the team dance, but actually also as a solist when you
And
are
as a
there.
couple. Yeah. So we're
Yes.
getting a little bit to the end of the podcast, but this is what I wanted to say about your method, Ton. We used a lot of terms. If this is the first time that you're with us, you might be a little bit overwhelmed hearing all these terms, and it's actually not to impress you. But we have consistent the same word with the same definition. That's why we try. Sometimes, if there's not a definition that Ton couldn't find, the definition is made in the book, so to speak. So, which really helps also in training and choreographing teams, because if you consistently use the same language, even the same movements when you instruct someone, things become shorter, more efficient. We talk about the same thing. That's also in Ton's book, Gem, Dance from a Different Perspective. Let me be the one today that holds it
Mm.
up.
Mm,
you know,
okay, thanks,
this is
Sean. Thanks.
that's the book. It's not only for individual dancers. It's not only for couple dances. It's actually for all dance forms. It's also not specifically to a style. And that brings me actually to this unique conference or congress that you are organizing on May 4th and 5th in this year, actually, in Germany, in a city close to Düsseldorf. Düsseldorf is a bigger city, most people know that, and it's the city called Neuss. Right? Can you tell us a little bit more about what you will do in that on that congress?
I will explain them firstly the terminology,
Mm-hmm.
theory, and the theory, and then we will work practically with it because we learn the structure from that terminology and how you will use them. This is interesting because when you have these tools, and this is the strength of the method, is you can make your own choice. One moment, John.
Hello.
And when you have this choice, Sean, or these options, you can make a choice and you can come to your really core, what you want to produce on that floor. So you get a lot of new ideas about new tools. Some of the tools you know them, and maybe some of them you don't know them. So it will make you more richer, not in money, but more in knowledge. And you put it in your backpack. And even you get also, I'll learn you the non-verbal communication, how you can non-verbal communicate to the dancers and give them signs from a distance. And if they perceive it, and you can only perceive it as a dancer through the eyes and through the ears, and think about it. And if you know all the signs, they use it also in football, in volleyball, in different sport, in hockey. They use all the signs also there. In the military, one sign is this one. Say, companies stop. So we will also, I tell you the how you can video analyze it and how you can perceive information from different directions and how you can collect them and how you can work with them. You get the other tools like geometric, organic, symmetric, asymmetric, singular, and composed. How we will work with that one. But we have a lot of more tools. I cannot mention them all. And we go step by step through it. It's 16 hours, 8 hours a day. And you get a book also. You don't have to buy it because you are entered. And when you enter the seminar, you get also the book, also to read it, but also to work with it. And we build up also a network of teachers in different dance forms. This is what I want because we want to develop as a professional. And you can only develop as a professional if you also know how other people also work and learn from them and put new ideas, and maybe you can use them. It depends on the individual. And then yeah, how beautiful is it have the first trainer seminar from this different dance forms, informations, and in teams, and come together. How beautiful is that? No politics, just dancing. No, not about judging or um, how to judge it, but just to provide tools how you can work and make your own art. That's the most important, to develop your own art.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I
Sean.
think it's a unique seminar specifically focused on coaches, choreographers, um, leaders of teams and formations. Yes, learning from each other is, at least in our mind, one of the great and nice way to learn from each other. We bring experience together, we can learn together. At the same time, Ton is going to introduce his method, how you could use that to work more efficient and more effective. But it's always your choice if you use it or not. It's effective because it's proven already at several, not only in ballroom dancing. Actually, Ton, his work spans way beyond just the ballroom world. So that's that. And I think it's unique. It's the first time I know of that such a congress, such a seminar, where it goes over multiple styles and disciplines of dancing, is brought together. So hopefully it will be very successful, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. Spread the word. I would say I will also put all the information of that seminar in the show notes of the podcast. Um, well, Ton, that brings us to the end
Yes. Actually,
of
also
today's episode.
interesting. Yes,
Yeah,
also interesting would be if some presidium would be there from the association. They would
definitely.
more understand what formation dancing is,
Yeah,
because many associations have a presidium. They have like a president in it, a secretary, etc., and not always they understand what happening on the working floor. So if they could be also, they can also attend to it,
yeah. More
and
than
then they
welcome to
would
join.
also honest, yes, they can join to it, and they
Yes.
would get a lot of information from there, and maybe they will think about it how to put it in their rule work there also, and think about their rule work, because I will mention also the words in the regulations, like choreography, like technique, like space, time, and we have definitions for it. And maybe you can think about it. We had also a podcast about that one, words. That was
Yeah.
also a nice one. So you can continue, Sean.
Yes, no, actually, we cannot continue because we are at the end of the
Yes,
podcast
yes,
for today.
absolutely. Beyond the
So
end.
from here, I say to our listeners and viewers, thank you for being with us, always listening to our podcast. Hope to see you, of course, in the next podcast. Who knows what topic that will be, but we'll hope to catch you next week. We always post one at least once a week a new episode. And from here, I say thank you, Ton, for sharing your information.
Thank you,
And
Sean.
until the next time with the
Yes.
Dance Gems.
Yes,
All
and you
right,
can close it with the music, Sean,
I
and
will.
show our podcast where it will be.
Yes,
Yes, where they can find it. Thank you, listeners, to be there the whole time, that 1 hour. Thank
one
you very
hour
much.
with Ton and Sean. Dance Jams.
Yeah,
Yeah, today we
and
were talking about formation and team dancing. There is so much more to talk about it, but I think we made a good start. And then don't forget to look at the information of the upcoming seminar in May. It depends, of course, also when you listen to this episode because it might be already over if you are in a different month, right? This was Sean and Ton. You can find us always on Spotify, also on Apple, definitely on YouTube, and on the website. I always place it here, so it on Spotify is Dance Dash Jams. On the website, I'm just mentioning just two. It is www double slash jam no dot jam dot dance. I'm sorry, I was a little bit off here. All right, with that I say bye bye.
bye bye.
And that was